I am in my villain era, as you know from the last podcast episode. I am also in my era of letting things be easy. I am the master overthinker. I am the master overcomplicator. And I'm realizing, too, a lot of that comes from people pleasing. This is actually an honest question for you guys. Answer on YouTube. If you are someone who tends to overcomplicate things, do you also have a people-pleasing streak? Because I've noticed that is a lot of what makes me complicate things is I'm living in other people's heads. And that is very exhausting. It is so exhausting to live in other people's heads where you have this whole narrative playing out about what they think of you, and they're angry about this and they're angry about that. We talked about this in a previous episode that I had a friend who was talking about how they got in a fight and her husband was saying that she's the worst wife and she's so useless. And it turns out he didn't say those words. It was from the way he walked across the room that she was interpreting that. So I think a lot of it has to do with people pleasing, but a lot of it also has to do with wanting to optimize and wanting to get the right outcome. If you have a fear of doing things wrong, if you do it the right way, it's going to be if you do it the wrong way, it's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to be such a big problem. That will also lead you to overcomplicating things. And this has actually helped me a lot. And there's even on my laptop, Caitlin, pull up that picture. You can see it, JF on youtube.com. Look at this. On my laptop, I printed out this little statement. And so I look at it all the time when I'm getting stuff done, replying to emails or whatever. How can I let this be easy? Is what it says. And I wish also that when my kids were little, I had asked that question as well, because that's another area of life that we tend to overcomplicate things and we get really wound up and put all these rules on ourselves that don't need to be there. So that will be the main topic today. As usual, we get to the main topic in the second half of the show. In the first half of the show, we will read an Apple Podcast review that has a lot going on. I mean, giving her cell phone number, 1 star, but I'm not sure she meant to do 1 star. It's just so much is going on here. So we will read that. And I'm going to talk about dropping kids off at college, what I have learned, if I had it all to do over again, the mentality, the mindset, things like that I would bring to parenting that would have made my life a lot easier. So especially if you have younger kids, that will be for you. We'll talk about a little bit more villain era stuff and things like that. This is the Jen Fulwiler Show. I am your host, Jen. I am a stand-up comic, best-selling author, and mom of 6. I had 6 babies in 8 years. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That is being a hot girl boss, or hot boy boss who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. Our lovely producer is Caitlin White, and you can work with her. Her website is in the show notes. She does consulting for video editing and things along those lines. She's an expert on those kind of topics. She's so good. So her website is in the show notes. And that's right, I'm coming to Huntsville, Alabama, Nashville, Tennessee. These are really shows to see. You'll want to see that. It's all new material. Come see me before I burn it all down. People might, when they're writing up my lore, when I have my scribe write the history of this career of mine, we might say that was, that was Jen burned it all down right after those shows. So come out to Huntsville. That is on August 21st. Nashville is on August 22nd. And I have a great opener. Actually, as an aside, my opener, he has a stutter. Can you imagine? See, talk about not having limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
You might say, if you had a kid with a stutter, you might say you can do anything. Maybe not like air traffic control, but you can do anything, but probably not stand-up comedy. That's probably the one thing you couldn't do. This guy is a killer. He is so good. He is so funny. You saw him in Pittsburgh. So those of you who were at my Pittsburgh show, which was so fun, so amazing. He was my opener there, and people just loved him. Bunch of people asking like, who's that guy? We need to follow him. So he's so wonderful, and I am thrilled to be working with him. Really excited to be working with Donnie Sangstack there. You can look him up on social media. And again, I think he's one of the most talented comics out there today. And of course, you can join my Patreon. That link is also in the show notes. And there might be a replay of our live from Monday up where I unpacked the current dumpster fire that I am in and how it happened, what's going on, what help I might need going forward. But I don't know. See, we are actually doing that Patreon live right after we record this. We're recording this on Monday. And so it has not happened yet. So I don't know. Caitlin, what would you say are the odds that when this subject comes up, and you've heard how I talk about this subject, what are the odds that I will be able to rein it in and say only things that we would be able to make available for a Patreon replay?
There's a good chance there won't be a replay.
So you guys can look, you can check it out. And we'll do other stuff like that. I do love my Patreon. Okay, let us begin with this. Okay, so Apple Podcast reviews are my love language. That and leaving comments on my comedy special, Maternal Instinct, on YouTube. Just search for Maternal Instinct Comedy Special on YouTube. If you want to give me a reason to live, leave a comment on my comedy special or leave an Apple Podcast review. Okay, so this one she says, Jen predicts the future. Jen, in all caps with 3 exclamation marks. You have predicted our futures. Well, oh, wait, let us begin with, okay, she gives it 1 star. It's 1 star. So I'm bracing myself for, these haters. Like, I have so many ops. They're like the stars. But it seems like she likes it. You talk amongst yourselves about whether maybe she thought 1 star was like, it's just this singular star, iconic. I don't know. Maybe she doesn't like it. Seems like she likes it, though. Her name is what, Elizabeth? Elizabeth, can you go back and make it, can you edit it? I don't need 1 star reviews in my life right now. She says, Jen, you have predicted our futures in all caps. We were in Iceland, and then you mentioned Iceland in that week's podcast. Who's in Iceland? I have world traveling fans. I mean, this is no one has a fan base like this. You guys are amazing. We were in Iceland, then you mentioned Iceland in that week's podcast. We were actively talking about beer, and then you started talking about beer. That's crazy. I mean, me talking about alcohol is not, totally a 1 in a million thing, but you're right. I don't usually talk about beer. That is crazy. Okay. This podcast should not be free. I know. Agreed. I agree. We are 2 Catholic convert girl bosses who therefore have no active villages. Sad emoji. We are attempting that. Okay. Now here's where they're really my people, because this is when a lot starts happening in this review. I guess this is while they're in Iceland. Maybe it's why they're there. We are attempting to get 12 people in a van to do a 200-mile relay race, but it sounds creepy when we ask strangers to live in a van with us for 2 days because we only have 8 non-flaky friends and 1 weak sibling each. Can we pause on that for a minute? So I guess the road trip isn't in Iceland. Does Iceland even have 200 miles of road? I mean, I hate to stereotype, but I mean, maybe it's somewhere else. Oh no, they say later. No, it's in the US. They do say that later. So we don't know what the connection is to Iceland. They were just there because because it's jet setters. Like, my fans are jet setters. Like, why wouldn't they be in Iceland? You guys are hot girl bosses. Okay. So they're trying to get 12 people in a van. Do you have to have 12? I mean, that's a lot of people.
In a van, yeah.
Do they own the van, do you think, or are they renting it?
I'd say maybe renting. It's got to be comfortable enough for 2 days, right? So, unless they just have a van hanging out.
Wait, that's a good question. Wait, yeah. Live in a van for 2 days. How do they sleep? If you have 12 people in the van, how do you sleep? because it makes it sound like you'll be sleeping in the van.
Yeah.
I just wonder if 12 is the requirement, is there, or maybe they're really extroverted. Now let's move on to so my husband one time, when he and this good friend of his, Dean, they were like 20 years old, and I want to say this is maybe when my husband worked for a plumber. He spent that summer working as a plumber's apprentice, and they were driving the van. It was a big white van with no windows except for, a windowless van. And they were headed out to visit, I forget who, but someone had a cool lake house and they might have a party. And they were talking to girls, and they met some girls at some just convenience store on the way. And they were like, hey, if you want to hang out with us, we're going to be having a party, lots of people there. And evidently the girls were kind of talking to them like, well, I don't know if it's near here, maybe. And then they saw the white windowless van and they just took off. So I understand getting a bunch of people to get in your van, that can be tricky. But you guys are, you guys seem great. I'm sure lots of people want to be in your van. So she says, well, and also wait, how do they have 8 non-flaky friends?
I
am a grown woman who has lived multiple decades on this earth. I got friends, but I think Caitlin's my one non-flaky friend. My friends are crazy. But I wonder, doesn't collecting people into a van for a road trip with people where you'll be like sleeping on each other's shoulders at night, I think you almost want flaky friends for that, because your accountant friend is probably not going to do that, Yeah. I think, but my artist friends, like I could name certain, some of my comedy friends, Caitlin, who shall remain nameless, like they'd be like, oh, sure, like I'm actually living in my van anyway, because I don't believe in the government, so I don't pay bills, so now I live in my car. So yeah, I haven't showered in a week, but I'll get in your van. So I could definitely hook you up with people who would do that. I don't know if they're who you want in your van, but I'm just good for you, Elizabeth, that you have 8 non-flaky friends.
Yeah.
That is, what is she, like she went to Harvard or something? Like, wow.
She studied friendships.
Well, they are up north, New Hampshire, Yale, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Therefore, there are only 10 of us prepared to live in said van for 2 days. Elizabeth, I need way more information on this.
Yeah, I do too.
Way more information. Because I follow van life TikTok. And it gets a little crazy when it's 2 people in a van that is set up for van life. I have so many questions. Where do you sleep? Where do you go to the bathroom? How do you change clothes? How do you brush your teeth? So many questions. Okay. Therefore, there are only 10 of us prepared to live in said van for 2 days. We need some hot girl or boy village magic to help us get our other 2 van members. Like, wow. So it's co-ed, so more questions. Now there are even more questions. They're Catholic, so I'm sure, it would be that no shenanigans. She says, if you can get 2 podcast listeners to join our team, we will name our team the Jen Fulweiler Van and put your face on the side of it and solely listen to your podcast for 2 days.
There's plenty of episodes. So.
That's a heck of a promise. That is a heck of a promise. So then this is how... she is my spirit animal. She's so crazy. And I say that as the highest possible compliment, because then she goes on to say, here is my phone number. I don't care if you dox me. 603. Can I read it on the...
I don't know.
Okay. So here's what we decided, Elizabeth. Anyone can go look up your personal phone number on the iTunes review. So just go look up my podcast on Apple Podcasts, leave a review while you're there, and you can find Elizabeth's phone number. I love it that my reviews are not people are exchanging contact info. Yeah. Here's what we'll do. If you would like to live in a van with Elizabeth and 11 other people for 2 days, email Caitlin at thejfshow.com. And then Elizabeth, you can also email Caitlin. So that's Katlyn. Katlyn at thejfshow.com. And Elizabeth, I don't I don't know if we'll have takers, but I would, if I were single and I could get away. I mean, it's so interesting that I might have a hard time saying no to that one. But this is my listenership. This is my fan base, and I could not possibly be more proud of you guys. In one review, in one Apple Podcast review, we have Iceland beer. You forgot about Iceland. I mean, like so much has happened since then. We have Iceland beer relay race, 12 people living in a van, 8 non-flaky friends, and a personal phone number. It's just so much going on. And this is taking place in New Hampshire. If you are in the New Hampshire area and would like to connect with Elizabeth and be part of this, it's called Ragnar Reach the Beach Race. Ragnar Reach the Beach Race. So there must be like a massive prize at the end of this. Another, like you get to go back to Iceland or something. So Elizabeth, please answer my questions. What were you doing in Iceland? Yeah. How are people sleeping? I'll name my podcast after you if you just do videos of this. I mean, I need all of the updates about this. So we have established, we have now proven empirically that I have the best listeners. I mean, no podcast listenership. There are podcasts, there are 1 or 2 with a bigger listenership. I mean, hard to name them, but we could find a couple. There are a couple podcasts that get more than 100 views on YouTube, but my fans are the best. Like those 100 views I get, it is all people like this. Like they're sitting in Iceland, planning road trips and giving out their personal cell phone number on Apple Podcast reviews. Like that is the quality of people who listen to this show. Okay. So what's next? I can't decide what order to put this in. I will say that next week is Caitlin and I, our fantasy football draft, the fantasy football team that we are on. And I don't know. I'm starting to think it should be illegal for 2 parents of the same household to both do fantasy football. We're heading into the season where my husband and I can only parent 4 days a week, depending on what's going on with college football, 3 days a week. It's a lot to manage. And, and your kids will come up to you like, oh, like we need dinner. And it's like, well, I need a wide receiver who gets real rushing yards. So we all have problems, I don't know. I mean, I'm honestly a little stressed about football season because last year was the first time I played fantasy football, and it was like a part-time job. Yeah. It was a lot. And it also ignited my latent competitive streak that I sort of didn't realize was there. And it sort of became an all-consuming thing. And I will make my pitch again, as I do every year. If you don't follow football, I recommend that you give it a shot. Just give it a little bit of a shot, because there are such great plot lines. There is such great drama. And as I've said in other episodes, everybody craves drama. If you tell yourself that you just don't want any drama in your life at all, that's not true. That's really boring. You know who has no drama in their lives? People in comas. You want some drama. The name of the game is to make it good drama, healthy drama, constructive drama. So that is why I think sports can be really fun to follow. I'm biased towards the NFL or just football, college football, whatever. I'm biased towards football. My dad played football. My grandfather played football. I'm biased towards that. But okay, fine, whatever. Another sport, What's the one where they push the thing on the ice in Canada? It's curling. Yeah, curling. Yeah. So whatever. But there's always good, healthy drama in sports, because I think that one of the definitions of good drama, hit the sound effect for surprise. Excellent point. How is this podcast free? One of the hallmarks of good drama is that it involves people creating something. Something is being created, and there are challenges in that. So in any sport, you have someone who has a goal, they are going for it, they are trying to create excellence. They're trying to create wins in the sport. Whereas bad drama, notice how often it involves destruction. We all have that one friend who is into drama, and it's bad drama, it's toxic drama. And notice that it's always about destruction. Everything they want to talk about is the opposite of creating. It's, oh, did you hear that so-and-so's marriage is falling apart? Oh, did you hear that their kid is off the honor roll and also got caught smoking weed? Like, it's destructive. It's people taking something that had been created and kind of unraveling it. And that's why I also tell my kids as well. All my kids are teens now. I've said before, we have 4 teenage girls living in a 1,900 square foot house at once. And I've said before, very low drama. They don't fight with me. They don't fight with each other much. There are never big blow up arguments. I mean, sometimes there is tension that needs to be worked out, but for the most part, it is a super chill house. And I think that one of the secrets there is that I affirm kids' need for drama. They like drama. Of course they do. We all do. And I try to channel it into the more constructive drama versus just talking about who screwed up, who wore the booty shorts to school the other day. I'm not saying there's none of that. I do not want to falsely, because Caitlin would be like, wait, are we talking about the same house? Because just before we started recording, you were like, she put what on Instagram? Like, oh my gosh. And so, no, I'm not saying I never, like everything is always above board in terms of the drama that we discuss. But for the most part, I do try to tell them that, it really does take your life down a notch when most of your conversations are about destruction, broadly defined. Because again, if it's about like the one girl where she had her thong hanging out of her, whatever, that is the destruction of her reputation. That is the destruction of some sort of respectability that she had. So you see that theme of destruction, whereas positive drama, this wide receiver, he was trying to beat the rushing yards record and he didn't make it. And it was because of a bad ref call. And we're just all so frustrated by that. Or, they should have had that goal and they didn't, and they tried so hard. That's drama. But notice it is because people were trying to move toward something positive. Another hallmark of good drama is that it gathers a group and it unites people. That is one of the things that has always stood out to me about sports as someone who grew up with a very isolated childhood, never part of any community, never part of really even an extended family that I ever saw anyway, never part of a church community, never really part of much of a neighborhood. I mean, it would be hard to be more isolated than I was in my childhood. And so sports were always interesting to me because I would look at this whole stadium I would see on TV when my dad would watch the Cowboys or whatever. And it would be like, wow, these people all have something in common. And I could fit in with them, which is really saying something because I fit in with nobody ever. I could fit in with them if I just learn a little bit about this team and wish for their success and wear their jersey. Like, you mean I would be accepted somewhere? Oh, that's crazy. That's wild. That blows my mind. And even in the years when I wasn't following any particular sport, I always had that soft spot for sports for that reason. So that is another hallmark of positive drama, is whatever activity that people are doing that is causing the drama, it unites people. It gathers a group. You see that with businesses. If someone is starting a business, they are gathering people. They're hiring people. They're trying to get customers to their business. It is gathering a group. Whereas negative drama, it's always about division. It's about who got divorced, who is breaking up, who hates who stabbed who in the back. So negative drama divides, positive drama unites. And that is why you should be on a fantasy football team is what I'm trying to say, because it's a lot of fun. But it is, I mean, my kids they're about to be on their own for the best part of the week until mid-January. So it's just a few months of, me needing to focus on my part-time job of following football. No one listens to this podcast for sports, but I just need to let you guys know something that is about to happen in my life. In Texas, the Texas A&M and University of Texas rivalry is one of the biggest, I think you could say, in the history of sports. And I mean sports going back to whatever they did in ancient Babylon when they were rolling a boulder through this. I don't know. Whatever they did, I truly believe that the Texas A&M University of Texas rivalry it's up there in world history. And because they were in different conferences, they have not played each other in many years. 2 of my children are going to Texas A&M. I started out at Texas A&M. I transferred because it was too religious, ironically, and I graduated from UT. So the fact that these 2 teams are playing each other this year, I cannot possibly overstate what a big deal that is in our house. And again, I bring it up because being a sports fan, it just gives you fun things to look forward to. I'm really looking forward to it. We are already making plans of where we're going to watch and what we're going to do. Our kids are in an off-campus dorm, and there's a pool and a big screen TV. And I think my husband is going to try to find a way to live there. It's going to be the Rodney Dangerfield movie Back to School. Yeah. That is going to be my husband. He will show up at this dorm with his hat on backwards, like, "Hey, fellow kids, I'm the new student. Grades are hard, right? Anyway, I'll be heading down to the pool to watch the pregame stuff." I mean, my kids don't know this yet. So if they pull up this episode, surprise, but we're really thinking about like just sleeping on their floors to be there for the game. It should be a lot of fun. So again, just find a sport that you can get into. One of the ways to have an entree into sports, this sounds silly, but it's really effective, is follow some funny meme accounts about that sport. It's funny how humor is such a great way to learn, because humor always gets your brain's attention. When you laugh at something, that wakes you up. Suddenly your neurons are firing and everything's clear. And so if you can find a meme account, like I follow a bunch of NFL meme accounts, I swear I have learned more about the NFL from just the jokes they make, because I want to laugh with them. I want to understand the jokes. So I'll go Google what this is a reference to, what historical rivalry this is talking about. And so if you're trying to get into sports but don't know where to start, follow the funny websites or meme accounts or whatever, and you will be surprised at how quickly you pick it up. So that is my pitch for you to follow sports, because it brings good drama into your life. And let's see, I think I will transition that. Yeah. Okay. Oh man, there's so much good stuff to talk about. Okay. So yeah, I think that relates to this week. Probably actually while you are listening to this episode, if you listen to it on its day of release, I am officially dropping my oldest daughter off at college. Last week I was talking about it, but that was just a trial run to get her aesthetic up and running in her dorm room. But this time I am leaving her at college as of the day that this episode is released. So literally while you're listening to this, I will be standing in her dorm room, getting her bed all ready and everything. And it is a bright spot in my week. I can't wait. It just seems like so much fun to get her all set up. And as you know, I've spent a lot of time pondering why I'm not even tempted to write some weepy Instagram post about it. I speculated on that last August, when we dropped my oldest off at college. But I think here's a new dimension on it. And if you have kids who are under 18, especially if your oldest is under 18, hit the listen up sound effect. We had that specially designed to connect with your neural brain waves to get you to really pay attention. So here's, I think one of the many reasons that this is not sad for me. I think one of the things that makes us sad about our kids turning 18 and going off into college or whatever adulthood things they are doing is that it is a closing of the book. Even for me, that was a gut check moment. when I realized with my oldest and now my second oldest, that's it on their childhood. Whatever childhood experiences didn't get done are not getting done, at least in terms of childhood. You know, we never took that trip to Disneyland or whatever. We never went skiing. We never, I don't know, did this or that. And that is a gut check moment when you realize there are no do-overs. There are no do-overs. And it just, whatever you've been doing all these years, that's it. Because I think this is what leads people to midlife crises too, is we tend to think that we're going to be better people in the future. You know, you're like, look, I suck right now. I mean, I am a slob and I'm a mess, but man, me next year, I'm going to be crushing it at parenting, and I'm going to be following my dreams, and I'm going to be getting stuff done. And then one day you wake up and you realize, like with a kid turning 18, all that talk about what you were going to do as a parent is over. Of course, you still parent your kids into adulthood, of course. But the childhood part is over. If you never took them to see a Bluey live concert or whatever, it's a little weird to take them when they're 19. You just have to close the book on the fact that didn't get done when they were little. So here's what I'm leading up to. I am always telling you guys to unapologetically make time for yourselves in a way that really recharges your battery. So for me, that would be like if I could install a bank vault in my house. You know how some people have safe rooms because they're billionaires and their house might be attacked? I need a safe room just for anyone trying to talk to me. Like I put, it's like a 6-foot steel wall, you know? So for me, that is very much alone time, sitting with a screen in a dark room, journaling. That is just such a great way for me to recharge my batteries. For other people, it might be, Caitlin, how do you recharge your batteries? Do you go outside or something? Do you run?
Yeah,
because you do run.
I go for runs.
And do you feel better after that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, not when I have to do it, but afterwards.
But afterwards, you're like, I'm glad I did this.
Yeah.
That's so weird. You running people always talk about that. When I go for a run, I'm like, I wish I had not done that. I regret doing that. I don't get the runner's high. I'm not like, oh, that was amazing. No, I totally regret doing it every time. So whatever. So maybe, but for you sporty people, maybe it is you go out for a run, or for those of you who are extroverted, maybe you get together with your sisters or your cousins or your friends or whatever. The point is, now that I have kids who are the age that they are heading out to college, and I have faced that closing of the book moment, I cannot emphasize to you how important it is that you make time for yourself regularly, if not every day, at least a few times a week. And I do not mean locking yourself in the bathroom for 15 minutes, pretending that you ate some bad food to just, you're just sitting on the closed toilet lid just to get a second. That doesn't count. You've hire babysitter, whatever. Like, you have to find a way to get some real time. We're talking a couple of hours bare minimum to yourself, because here's why. When you have that time to not be in the fray, to not be in the midst of chaos, that is when you can figure out what your dreams are for this family. That is when you can figure out your goals and how you can figure out who you are so that you can set a good plan that feels good to you. Notice the greatest military generals in history, they were not down on the battlefield 24/7, 7 days a week. They took breaks to go back to their tent, their command center tent, where they would get some sleep, get some good food, and they do, the war room map where they'd have the massive table and the map is there. And okay, if we take this hill, then this and that. You need to do that. You are fighting a battle to have your family turn out the way you'd like for it to turn out. Not that you can perfectly control it, but to just do what you can to guide everyone a certain direction. And if you are never making time for yourself, you won't be able to guide your family in any kind of clear way, because you'll be like the general who is just constantly on the battlefield with bullets flying over his head. Do you want that guy as a general? If you were heading out and going to war, would you want that guy as a general who never takes any time to figure out the plan and is just always messing around up in everyone's business on the battlefield? Like, why are you wearing those shoes? Oh, duck, there's a bullet. Hey, what do you guys think about blah, blah, blah? And everyone's asking him questions like, General, my pay is late. And what about our rations and whatever? And like, that's all he ever does. I don't want that guy leading me anywhere. He doesn't know what he's doing. Or I love plane analogies are probably more relatable, because I've heard that some of you guys don't spend all your time reading about ancient warfare, which is so weird. Weird. Okay, so see, this is why I only have 100 views on YouTube, because this is my, like, who's like, oh yeah, I meet so many other Catholic moms of 6 who spend all their time reading about the Peloponnesian War. This explains a lot. Airline pilot is a good analogy. Do you want the person flying your plane to be out helping people get seated before the flight? Everyone's hitting him up with questions like, Captain, listen, I don't like this seat. And he's like, well, why don't you like this seat? And they're like, well, it's just not comfortable. And he's like, look, maybe you could do the armrest like this. And then he looks at his watch and he's like, oh shoot, we're about to I got to run back to the cockpit. And he has the plane take off. I don't want that guy flying my plane.
Nope.
Because he didn't have any time to himself to just wrap his mind around the flight plan and remember what all these buttons do. Like, man, I sit in a cockpit and I'm like, do you guys even know what all this stuff is? He didn't have that time. You don't want him flying your plane. And so your kids do not, they don't want you to be down in the weeds 24/7, never getting time to just decompress, sleep, get some food that you like. Take some time for yourself to get your mind together. And if you are in survival mode, if you have a lot of little kids, what you're going to do is you're going to take 5 minutes and then start feeling guilty about it. And maybe you have a local teenage girl or something to watch the kids. You'll hear the kids yelling at her. You'll hear them repeating language that they heard from some YouTuber, and you're like, we are going to have the worst reputation in this neighborhood, and you're going to come flying out of your room like a vampire and get in everyone's business and disrupt your quality time that you were supposed to have to yourself to get your act together. We're not talking 5 and 10 minutes here. We're talking multiple hours, multiple times per week, where you can just get your mind together and do some things that recharge your batteries, because then that is when you will have the realization, oh, you know what? The kids have always said they wanted to go to this amusement park that's a couple hours away. I just realized we've never done that. So you know what? I got to get this on the calendar. Let me pull up my calendar and see in a couple months, could we do it during that long weekend? Oh, good. I'll get tickets now. That sort of thing. Those insights don't come to you when you are living on the battlefield 24/7, when you never take that kind of time for yourself. So that, because just to keep my sanity, I mean, I had to have like my, as I call it, brain in a jar time, where that reference is from, because I once saw a sci-fi movie of a guy who was just a brain in a jar, and I was like, that's the life. That's it. Nobody would do till you move your body. Like, I don't have a body. I win. So for me to have my brain in a jar time, it's so critical. So I really did a lot of that, and I did basic kind of goal setting stuff. And so I think that my husband and I have been pretty intentional about our kids' childhoods and the things that didn't do, like we never did take the kids to Disney, but that was an intentional choice. We thought about it. We looked into it. We talked to the kids about it. None of us are amusement park people. When we took them to other amusement parks, it was my children, they became angry, screaming tomatoes. Like they got overheated. It's not for us. So I don't feel guilty about that. I don't feel a sense of remorse, because I had that time to think through it and to be intentional. And I think that is one of the main reasons why, when I drop my daughter off at college, as you are listening to this episode, the day this episode comes out, I just don't think that it's going to be a super sad thing for me because I gave myself that space to be intentional in her childhood. And I'm not saying I did everything right, not by a long shot. My performance eval, definitely some things I'd write down on there, but I'm only human. I am an only child. My husband is an only child. Like, I came from a culture. It's a wonder that I ever had kids. So grading on the curve, I give myself an A+, given what I had to work with at the time, given the culture that I was coming from. I feel pretty good about it. So for those of you, again, especially if your oldest is under 18, I just can't emphasize how important it is that you get that time to yourself so that you can be a good pilot, so that you can pilot this plane of your family along with your spouse in, like you don't end up flying into the storm because you were so frazzled when you took off that you forgot to look at the radar, Okay, so there we go. Let me see where we are on time. I think I will go into... Yeah, okay. Let's go into, okay, I do want to follow up on the villain era topic from the last episode. So I was talking about being in your villain era, and I said something at the very end that if you missed, I think you should go listen to the last 5 minutes. This often happens on this podcast that I'm like, oh, I hope everyone listens to the last 5 minutes. And then I look at the stats and it's like, yeah, 3% of your listeners listen to the last 5 minutes. So I'm going to repeat this for those of you who this podcast should be your top priority in life. You should listen to every minute. But on the off chance that you missed it, I was talking about how every child would love to see their parent be in their villain era. The question that I asked in that at the end of the last episode is, imagine your parents, whether they're still living or not. Imagine if at some point one of your parents called you and said, man, I'm done with this stuff that stresses me out, that's been making me upset, that's been making me feel like life isn't working out for me. You know what? I am entering my villain era. This is my villain era. I'm not putting up with it anymore. It's on. It's on. How good would that feel to have your parents say that? Wouldn't it feel amazing that they are being empowered? They're stepping out of victim mentality and into power mentality. That one of the greatest favors you can do for your kids is to step into your villain era, because it is very, very, very unsettling for kids to see their parents in the position of a victim. And of course, if they're a victim of a crime or something, obviously that is deeply unsettling. But just bringing victim mentality. Well, I can't get a break. That would have worked out for me, but blah, blah, I can't do this. That it's really unsettling to kids. Frankly, to go back to the general or to the airline pilot analogy, I mean, who would you rather have a plane piloted by? Would you rather have a pilot who has the attitude like, man, I got this. I am accountable. That I'm in my villain era. Like, I'm getting it done. We're going to get there. This is going to be great. I've been learning all this extra stuff to be the best pilot I can. Or you see the pilot walk on board and he's like, I just can't get a break. Like, nothing ever works out for me. The company, they don't pay me enough and nobody appreciates me. I don't want to be around that guy in a crisis, because he is going to be passing the buck and making excuses and just not taking accountability for his own life. It's a very unsettling thing to see someone who has a lot of sway over your life be talking like a victim. It's very unsettling. Whereas to hear that person be empowered and not worried about what other people think and moving forward in a bold way, that's exciting. And it's just comforting. Like, okay, this person has a plan. And even if it's not the best plan, at least they have a plan, and and they're not just being a martyr all the time. So that brings us to last episode. I played a clip from this gal, Sarah Snow. I just kind of discovered her stuff. I mean, she has some real banger quotes here. Caitlin played this other one, and this is about, I apply it to parents, but it's about anyone who kind of walks around with that martyr mentality.
I think that we sometimes choose to be the martyr in our own story, thinking that it makes us a hero. We love the idea of being the one who's self-sacrificing. But when we say things like we're the ones who do more and love more and give more, what you're really saying is I believe in you more than I believe in myself.
So I really liked, especially the beginning of that, where she said, sometimes we like being the martyr because, actually, play it again. How did she phrase that at the very beginning?
I think that we sometimes choose to be the martyr in our own story, thinking that it makes us a hero. We love the idea of being the one who's self-sacrificing. But when we say things like we're the ones who do more and love more and give more, what you're really saying is I believe in you more than I believe in myself.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I wanted to build it. Yeah, you're saying that, but you're also saying, I am not accountable for the outcomes in my life. When you have that kind of martyr mentality, you're hiding behind outside circumstances. And as we talked about in the previous episode, in the Villain Era Part 2 episode, that was 217, is that right? Mm-hmm. As we talked about, you're passing the buck onto other people or onto other circumstances. And it's essentially a way to kind of hide behind your fears. So I just wanted to put a point on that, since it came up very late in the previous episode, that there is a lot of martyrdom in modern parenting. A lot of parents making comments like, well, I would have followed my dreams, but my kids and blah, blah, blah. When really, a lot of times we're just using our kids as a shield for our fears. We're just hiding behind our kids because we were terrified to put ourselves out there and get rejected and be embarrassed. And so a final thing on that subject, this is a slightly different direction. This is another kind of follow-up before we get to the main topic of letting it be easy. So I have alluded to the fact that I have a lot of problems in my career right now. I've been hit with multiple things that are difficult, and there's just a wide-ranging collection of issues. And so I have been doing a lot of reflection. I've been doing a lot of just pondering how we got here and going for your dreams and things like that. And I just kind of wanted this to be a wake-up call. I just want to say, for those of you who never even tried to follow your dreams, who just sat on the couch and watched your TV shows and took the easy way out so that you did not ever have to risk failure, I just want to say, great idea. that you chose the right path. That's a really, really good idea. Nobody ever talks about the positive side of taking the easy way and not following your dreams. I wish I'd done that. I honestly, I wish I had never gone for it. And because then you don't have to. There's no victory, but there's no failure. There's no rejection. There's no falling on your face. It's honestly amazing, and I think that people need to talk way more about the advantages of not being in the arena of not going for it and just grabbing your popcorn and watching other people try and fail. I think that is maybe I think that's maybe the way to go. And I'm only kind of kidding. I'm only kind of kidding. I mean, I know people who have 9-to-5 jobs, and they did not make a big effort to find their blue flame. They have jobs that are a means to an end to get enough money so that they can take vacations a couple times a year, and they've been to Europe. And I'm thinking of quite a few people who fit this category. And it's all, there aren't like high highs and low lows. It's great. They've got these jobs that they do well at. And as the years have gone on, they've moved up in the ranks and get a little more money and a little more vacation. And, they go to fun places. They take cruises. They do things like that. And I don't know, like I never heard them talk about, going for a big dream or, risking it all or whatever. And do you know how happy they are? They're so much happier than I am right now. I mean, that's the way to go. I think maybe you shouldn't follow your dreams. I don't know if it's worth it, guys. I really don't. Especially because people are like, you should dream big dreams. You should dream big dreams. And, because you'll always regret it. People say you should dream big dreams and go for them because you will always regret it if you don't. But they never say you might regret it if you do. you might wish, I wish I'd never gone for that. That's a mess. That is honestly a mess. And I kind of wish I'd never done that. We never talk about that side of regret. So, if you're having trouble finding your blue flame or finding like a real calling or a passion that you can throw yourself into, maybe just watch a show. Like, have you tried just binge watching a show and scrolling TikTok? That might be the answer, honestly, because this mess that I am in, I'm just like, why did I do this to myself? Like, I was a programmer. I was happy. I was good at it. I got promoted like 3 times in 1 year. I made so much money as a programmer. It was crazy. I don't know. This is just a mess. Like, I just think that you guys should not follow your dreams. At this point, guys, I would say I'm kidding, but I don't know if I'm kidding. I have lost track of that. I don't know if I'm kidding anymore. Okay, main topic. Before, I always do the Patreon promo before the main topic. The Village Hustle Patreon. There are 2 levels of Patreon. Village Hustle is the higher level where I'm your crazy life coach. You can learn from my mistakes as have been happening recently, the things I would never do again if I had all to do over again. I did lay out what has been going on since I can't go into all the details publicly, but I did lay it out on the Village Hustle Patreon. And then this past week episode, was it 52? Is that right?
53.
53, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new one. That I was talking about watching the stories you tell yourself, because when you have a setback, obviously that's tough. You have a lot of things that are difficult about it, but you can make it a lot more difficult by going into narratives, especially about what people think of you. And you need to watch that. And I caught myself really doing that and needed to rein that in, and it actually helped a lot. So patreon.com/thisisjen. That link is also in the show notes. And you can look and see if there is a replay. Even if you're not a Patreon member, you can see the names of the posts. So if there's one that says replay, it means I reined it in enough that we could do the replay. That link is in the show notes. Okay, so the main topic, as you saw, put it up again, Caitlin, how can I let this be easy, is on my laptop. And so anytime I sit down to do anything, I ask myself that question. I have caught myself overthinking that question, overanalyzing how I can let it be easy. So that's how much of a mess I am. Okay, that's good. But I've broken it down to, for those of us who tend to overcomplicate life, I've broken it down to 3 main things that have helped me let things be easy. And one of the things I would mention is that for those of us who tend to overcomplicate things, we often don't realize we are doing that because it all feels necessary. A mom friend of mine the other day was talking to her daughter, and this was still summer, and the daughter had a question, and the mom was like, well, this, how many minutes of iPad time have you had today? Because then you have to do your reading time, and then you have to do this and that, and then this and like whatever. I was like, wow, that takes so much energy. I'm like, yeah. But she really felt like she had to do that. I mean, in her mind, this is just mom life. I mean, this is simply what you do, and it's what you have to do. So one of the signs that you might be overcomplicating things, and there might be a way to let this be easier, is if you feel really overwhelmed and stressed out all the time, and there's not a totally obvious reason for it. Like if you have 3 kids under age 3, there's probably no way around feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. But if you kind of wonder, you think, seems like I don't need to feel this overwhelmed all the time, that is a sign that you might be overcomplicating things. So these are 3 things that I have been looking out for to let my life flow a little easier and to manage my stress level, which is very high right now because I have a cornucopia, a horn of plenty of new problems that came into my life very suddenly. It's, you know, how at Thanksgiving we have imagery of the horn, you know, with the gourds and whatever, some winter vegetables in it, and it's overflowing with plenty to symbolize abundance. That is my problems right now. So stress management has been important in my life, and so here are the 3 things that I try to do to take my stress level down and let life flow as easily as possible. First one, stop making up rules that don't need to be there. Like my friend who had the very rigid summer schedule. There are prisons that are a little more loose than the summer schedule at her house. I understand having standards as parents, but a lot of times you really don't need to do about half of what you're doing. I would say, and this is true not just in parenting, but in any area of life, just state the goal. Take a step back from all the have to, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to. Take a step back, set all that aside, state the goal. So in this mom's case, she might say, well, I want my daughter to have a constructive summer where she comes out a better person at the end of the summer, and where she's not just sitting around watching screens. I want to look back on this summer and say it was good. It was a good, solid, positive summer where we had enough time together and everybody had fun and blah, blah, blah. So when you write that goal, then you can hold up all your have tos next to it and say, but is there an easier way to get to this goal? Is there an easier way to get to this goal? Like, could I just say you can't, I don't know, like you can't start your iPad time until certain things are done, and just like share an app that has a checklist on it. Just show me what's done. And then who cares about the exact amount of screen time, but just having that goal of these things need to get done. I don't care when you do them. You can do them at 10 p.m. I don't care. Or, you know, I'm not big on sleep schedules for the summer. I have to get my kids on an earlier schedule so they'll be ready for school. You don't. And I can tell you, we have pushed that to the limit in my house. We are some extreme night owls. And in our defense, we live in a real godforsaken place. I mean, look, I love Austin, Texas. My ancestors came here in like the 1850s. I mean, we've been here forever. So this is my homeland here. But like the surface of Venus is a more comfortable place to live. It is very, very hot here. It's so hot. It's so unbelievably hot. And so it works for us to be on a late schedule. You see this in a lot of countries where it is hot, in southern Italy, in southern Spain, Morocco, like a lot of North African countries. You see this kind of siesta culture where everyone is a useless blob from the hours of 12 to like 3 p.m. and then everyone stays up late. As you know, my dad actually grew up in Mexico, even though he's from Texas, and that's just how they did it. A lot of it because it's hot, and this was before air conditioner, and so everyone would just sort of do nothing in the heat of the day, but then they would stay up late into the evening. So all this is to say, I defend my family's late schedule. It works very well for us because the Texas evenings are actually beautiful. It is nice outside. Yeah. But like after 9 p.m., you do have to wait to that point before this place gets livable in any way. So I don't see anything wrong with my family drifting on a late schedule. And so we've had, it'll be like not the night before the first day of school, but the night before that, everyone's up till 2 a.m. And I'm like, man, you guys are going to have a long, long first day of school. And, but they all self-adjust. Like actually last night, all of my kids independently, they just wanted to go to bed more like 11 p.m., which is crazy for us. And just giving them that freedom that allows them to make the choice, and it takes it off of my to-do list. And listen, if all of us had the 10 full-time staff members that we need to run our lives, maybe we could have the perfect schedules and your kid could be in every single activity. They could take 4 music lessons and sports and whatever, and pottery, just all the stuff. And your house would be perfectly clean and your kids would have the perfect amount of screen time. Sure, if you had the perfect village, maybe all that would be happening, but you don't. And so you need to look very carefully at your list of have-tos. Do I really have to do this? Do I really have to do this? Or is there another way to get this done, to get to the goal or a similar goal that is much, 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 much easier? I also saw this when we homeschooled. I fell in with a rough group. Those homeschooling moms, that is a rough group. I'd rather join a gang. I mean, that is a rough group of people. The homeschooling moms. There's a lot of like, you have to do it this way, and you have to, if you're not actively teaching your kids for 9 hours a day, then you're not checked in and whatever. And at one point, I got really busy with some stuff. This is when I was booking my first tour, and so my husband, who has quite an academic background. But he also never overcomplicates things. He said, why don't we just try this system? And it was so easy. It took like 1 hour a day of my time, and then was independent learning based after that. And I kept rejecting it. And he said, why are you rejecting it? And what I came to was, I was like, well, it's too easy. Like we can't let life be easy. We're homeschoolers. We have to torture ourselves and make everything really complicated and put all these rules on ourselves that don't need to be there. That's the homeschooling ethos. That's what we do. So all that is to say, so number one, how to let life be easy. Give a real side eye to every have to in your life. Do you really have to do this? Or is the complexity of it making you feel like a good mom? That's another thing. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times when something is difficult, just complicated, laborious, and completely sucks our will to live, we tend to think like, I'm an amazing mom. And I saw that a lot in homeschooling circles. It probably happens in school circles as well. There's just less communication among the parents. But it would be like, yes, our like most holy, blessed martyrs of the sacrament curriculum. It does, it is 4 hours of theology, and you do need to start it at 5:00 a.m. because that's what the curriculum says. But it's, it's worth it. It's worth it to, and like all their kids are rave DJs now. I mean, it just doesn't, it's not like, but it made them feel like they were doing a lot to torture themselves with these overcomplicated curricula. So look at all these have-tos in your life and realize like you probably don't have to do any of them. If we're being honest, you probably don't have to do most of them. Okay, number 2, I saw this one on, okay, let's be honest, it was a reel. It was an Instagram reel, but listen, you can learn a lot from that kind of content. And they were talking about how the things that stress us out are because we have built up in our mind that there is a big consequence if it doesn't work out. And that really resonates. And let me give you an analogy that will really show like this. I think it really hits it home. Okay. Imagine if I set a little balance beam thing on the floor right in front of you. Let's say it's a 10-foot long balance beam, and it's not even a thin balance beam. It's like a foot wide. And I say, walk across this. You'd be like, Jen, please stop insulting me. Like, I think I can do that, like, obviously. So you'd walk across it, like, what's the big deal? Now, put that same balance beam between 2 skyscrapers that are 90 stories high, and now walk across it. Well, now suddenly it's all like, this is a huge thing. This is terrifying. This is a big thing. That's what we do mentally. We build things up in our mind, especially if it touches on our trigger points, our issues, our childhood trauma, our unresolved stress. That, like, for example, for me, I was raised by my dad to be such a people pleaser that I have it in my mind that if someone is unhappy with me, it doesn't matter whether it was my fault or their fault, or like, it registers in my subconscious like I am not safe, lack of safety. If someone is annoyed with me, that is like, it's like being up on the skyscraper walking the balance beam. Like, this is the biggest catastrophe in the world if someone is not happy with me. So we do this with so many things that are real. It's really not that big of a deal, but because of our background and our issues, we have built it up like the balance beam is in between two skyscrapers. And so with everything that you're stressed out about, you need to take a big step back and be like, is this really going between two skyscrapers, or is it on the floor? Is this maybe not that big of a deal? Like, when I told the guy at the oil change place that I don't need the $200 air filter replacement, and he seemed annoyed with me, maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe I am going to be okay and everything is okay, and this is not that big of a deal. That's a revolutionary thought to me. It really is. It's like a mind-blowing thought to me. So with everything that stresses you out, I think it's worth asking, like, what if I just let this go? What if I didn't care about this? What's the worst that would happen? Is it a big deal? And here's what you find. There are some things in life that are a big deal. Let's say you have a child has a serious medical diagnosis. I lived in the hospital for the better part of a week this summer because one of my daughters had a really serious case of pneumonia. It was bad. It was getting worse. So that's an example of something legitimately a problem, very legit, worth stressing out over. But in those cases, it's almost like it's an unoptimizable situation. None of us know the perfect answer here. Of course, I did my homework. I asked multiple doctors. I asked doctor friends. I Googled. I asked her medical team at the hospital. But at the end of the day, you can't perfectly control it to a perfect outcome. And frankly, you're more likely to make the right decision if you just let it go and just stop. Not to say that you don't care. You care a lot, but just let go of the idea that there is some perfect answer out here that you are going to be able to perfectly control the outcome. Just ask God to guide you the right direction. Wow, great. I just knocked over my phone. Ask God to guide you the right direction and do the best you can, and let go of all that control and the desire to like make everything perfect through your perfect decisions. Then the final out of thanks, Caitlin's getting my notes that I just knocked over here. Thank you. The final one is, here's the big reveal since Caitlin's bringing me my notes. This is my big one. Get out of other people's heads. Stop babysitting other people's emotions. Women do this a lot. I think men do it too. My dad did a lot, but you see it, probably a lot of my listeners struggle with this, that we do a lot of speculating about what other people think, what will make people happy, what will make them not happy. And we really do it a lot with our kids. And that's understandable because when you have a 6-month-old, well, you do have to speculate about what might make this baby happy. You do have to think, well, if I were this baby, I'd want a little hat on or what, But I think some of us, we almost get stuck in that, and we're like, what my son wants to do, he wants quality time with mom, and so he wants a spa day with mom because he doesn't feel like he's getting enough attention from me, and I need to schedule a 5-hour spa day, and this is just so stressful to get this. And meanwhile your kid is like, no, I don't want any of that. Can I please go hang out with my friends? Like, please no. And so or like we're like, my kid has to play a sport because they'll feel like we neglected their childhood if they're not in 5 sports. And when your kid is like, I hate sport, I don't want to do this. Like, I'd rather take drawing lessons. Like, I don't want to be in sports. Or we're convinced that people are mad at us, or this person is disappointed in us, or this person thinks we're bad at this, or this person thinks that, or whatever. that will make things so complicated for you, because you are not only trying to manage your own life and your own basic decisions, but then you've got this whole Game of Thrones narrative playing out in your mind with like 70 different characters and like what their motivations are and what they think. And that is how a lot of us live our lives. That is how a lot of us people pleasers live our lives. I really am. I'm like Tolkien with all the characters I keep in my mind. Like there's the one friend who I texted her on Saturday, and now today is Monday and she hasn't replied to my text. So, I mean, like, cue the sweeping dramatic music because I have a whole narrative of like, you know what it is? The last time I saw her, I didn't ask her what's going on with her enough. And she probably feels like I'm not like listening to her problem. I mean, I could go on and on, or this person or that person, you know, this person didn't want to do business with me because they think this and that, or it's even positive. This person did want to do business with me because of this and that, when really it's like none of it's true. You're living in your like Lord of the Rings trilogy that you're making up in your head, and like none of it's true. And it makes everything very complicated when you're trying to find outcomes in your life that will make all 70 characters in your fantasy fiction happy. So when you really come to peace with the fact that you have no idea what other people are thinking. You don't know what your kids are thinking. You don't know what your spouse is thinking. You don't know what your friends are thinking. You have no idea what anyone is thinking. And 99% chance, if you're thinking about what they think about you, 99% chance they think more positively about you than you are estimating. When you accept that, you can let life be easy. Because like just this morning, I needed to send someone a text. It's not someone I know very well. It was a little bit of kind of a just kind of a delicate situation where we're just trying to figure something out. But again, I don't know them that well. And I just churned all of this energy into trying to craft the perfect text that wouldn't be weird, that wouldn't seem too eager, but wouldn't seem like I'm blowing them off. And like, I respect what they do in business, but yeah, and all that. And then I was like, what if I just dashed out, like, do you want to talk tomorrow at 1:00? And then I'm like, but what if, should I put an emoji? Because if I don't put an emoji, they might think I hate them. But if I do, they might think I'm not professional. Like, I just hit send, and it can actually be that easy. So let your life be easy. Don't overcomplicate it. Come to my Huntsville and my Nashville shows before I burn it all down. Leave a comment on my comedy special on YouTube. And get in the van with Elizabeth. She is doing a road trip. All 12 of you can sleep in the van. Caitlin at the JF Show if you want to get in on this. And I will be back with you next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.